is happening? The Now Safer X community. Nathan B here with a video. Haven't done one in a while. So this one is for people that may be looking to run their node, light or full node during testnet. Okay, so more during testnet, I would say at home, on some piece of hardware you've got that can support running a virtual VPS on that computer, and we'll go through all the specs on that, but it just gives you another option. All right, so yeah, it might be a little long here, it's a little complicated to go through, but I'll try and break it down, make it as slow as I can, and ask me to have any questions post this video. But other than that, let's get going. Now I'm on my desktop, and one of the things you might see from, or you might have seen from the thumbnail, was Hyper-V and VirtualBox, Oracle's VirtualBox. All right, so here is the OR option here. Hyper-V comes with Windows, so if you're a Windows user, you're familiar with Hyper-V, then use that. You can also use VirtualBox within Windows, but if you're a Mac user and you want to set up your node on a Mac OS, you can download VirtualBox. So this video, I'm mostly going to show the setup of Hyper-V. I will touch on VirtualBox because I have it installed just to show you, but yeah, let's look at Hyper-V first, because I'm running on Windows here. So let's have a look at that. All right, the first thing what you're going to have to do before any of this is you're going to have to make sure that the machine that you have running Windows 10, running Windows 11, actually supports Hyper-V. Okay, so some of the system requirements here are you have to be running a certain version of Windows, which is 64-bit version of Windows. I doubt that's going to be a problem, but it has to be Pro, Enterprise, or Education. Okay, that's the first piece from the software side of things. There is a hardware requirement that that with Hyper-V or VirtualBox that you need the hardware, the laptop, the desktop you're running to have a hypervisor, supported within, let's say, the hardware of that device. And to find that out, what you're going to do is you're going to go to Start Run. Okay, so I'm on Windows. So if you're on Windows, which I'm focused on now, you're going to go to Start Run. You're just going to type in CMD. Okay, so when CMD starts here, okay, this is something what you'll have here, and what you want to type in here is systeminfo. Okay, all right. So once you are on systeminfo, you're going to go up to the top. Make this a little larger so we can see here. Yeah, we don't need that. All right, so I can see here that I'm running Windows 11 and I'm running Enterprise, so I'm good with that. As we go down here, another thing that you're going to have to check here is that it is 64-bit, which we saw. So the system type is going to be 64-bit. Another thing we'll get into a little later is the amount of memory, physical memory that the box has. I have 16 gig here, which is more than enough for what we're talking about in this video. There's some disk stuff there, but anyway, the last thing that you want to check is if I go all the way down to the bottom, you've got this Hyper-V requirements, and it should say here a hypervisor has been detected in the hardware. Yeah, that's what you're going to need. If you don't have, it says something else, then you probably don't have support for that. There is another thing you need to do sometimes is turn it on in what's called the BIOS, and if that's a problem, you might have to just look that up or ask someone in Discord like myself to help with that. But if you're going to be doing this at home, I think you'll understand some of those requirements. All right, so that's the prerequisites or the requirements. And if we're good with that, the next thing, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to Start Run, and you're going to type in this. So you're on your Windows 10, your Windows 11 machine, and you're going to want to type in this optional features. Okay, click on OK for that. Then this turn Windows features on or off will pop up, or should pop up, and you're going to tick this Hyper-V here, and that's going to tick both of these. That's fine. I already have mine ticked because it needs a reboot, so tick that, bounce the box, and you will come back up, and that role should be installed in Windows. The next thing what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Start and search in Windows for Hyper-V Manager. Okay, you're going to run Hyper-V Manager, and this should be displayed for you after that role, after a reboot. Okay, now there's a couple of things that you need to do prior before you actually start creating that VPS, that node. The first thing what you going to want to do is go over in the right hand side here and select Virtual Switch Manager. Okay, and you're going to have to create a virtual network that your node can connect through your home internet or wherever you are out, and separate this. Okay, so to do that, you're gonna leave it as new virtual network here, and leave external because that's what we want. Create virtual network, call it something like SFX, and leave the external option there. And from the drop down, you're going to pick whatever the device is connected to your router at home. Okay, so for that, mine's a wireless device here, and that is it. Again, make sure it's external because you want it to be able to come out, go out. All right, this is going to interrupt the network stack on the Windows box, but that is okay. Okay, while that's doing its thing, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do the second option here, I think, which is looking at. Okay, that looks good, so we're going to click on OK. All right, so that's the network done. Now the next thing what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to create a virtual disk for all this stuff, right? Now, so I'm looking at my local machine, and I have a bunch of storage free there. Single drive, you could have an additional drive, like a D drive, E drive there, and you could put what I'm about to do on that disk, no problem at all. Remember, this is only testnet. This is only testnet, and if you watch the last AMA, Brew mentioned that you only need like 8 gig of storage for testnet, right? So I've got plenty there. I've got hundreds of gigs. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call that SFX. All right, so I've created my folder here, my new folder that's going to house my virtual disk for my node. Okay, and I've got plenty of storage in there, so that is done. There is one other step that you're going to have to do that I just remembered, so it's 3 steps. Is you're going to need to download a free copy of Linux. In this case, I'm using Ubuntu server. I'm going to download 22.04.1, a long-term branch version, which is the best one because you can see that they extend security and support and maintenance for some time. And again, this should really be just during testnet as an option for some people that are watching. Instead of the cloud, instead of using the cloud. Mainnet, I still recommend that we should be using a cloud service, but again, this is just for testing. All right, so download a copy of that. I grabbed a copy of that, and that'll come down as a .iso, like ISO file, and we'll see that a little later on. Okay, so there's 3 steps actually. All right, now what we want to do is let's go and create our node. All right, okay, so let's go in here, and you're going to click over on the right hand side here. You're going to want to click new and virtual machine. All right, I'm going to call mine again SFX node. All right, I'm going to store it in a different location. If you remember, I created a SFX folder on my local disk, so that's where I'm going to store my files for this virtual machine. I'm going to click next. I would leave it as generation 1. Just generation 2, there's a lot of security features that I'm not sure whether this Linux version supports, and I'm just not interested in that. You know, again, in testnet, leave it for supportability to generation 1. Click on next. Now here comes the physical memory, the amount of physical memory that in testnet we need to allocate to this node, right, on this like Windows box. Now again, Prabhu said that in testnet on the last AMA that you'll need 4 gig for this. That's fine with 8 gig of disk space. So I'm going to go with that 4096 to see whether your machine has enough. I think the best way to do that is if you right click on, I can't show you this, but if you right click on your start button and you're in Windows 11, you can go to Task Manager, and Task Manager should look like this. Okay, so I'm going to go to the performance, and under memory here I can see that over in the right hand side here I have 16 gig of physical memory, right, in this box. So me allocating 4 to that still leaves Windows with a lot more to play with, so I'm okay with that. Check that with yours. If you probably need like a gig or 2 for the operating system to outside that is hosting this to run. So if you had 6 gig and up, then you should be good. So I'm going to close that down, and I'm going to go with 4096. I'm going to untick this because I want it to reserve reserve 4 gig from that 16 gig of physical memory that we just saw. So I'm going to click next. I'm going to connect my network to SFX that we created earlier. I'm going to click next again, and now we come up to the storage part here. All right. Now, so what it's going to do here is it's going to create a virtual hard disk file in that folder that we created that's going to run our Ubuntu Linux and run our node. All right, so I'm okay with the name. The location is going to put it into. That is good. The name's fine, whatever. The location is fine. The size is more than enough. Remember, Prabhu said 8 gig of storage in the AMA. Good with that as well. The other thing is, if you notice, it says here dynamically expanding or dynamically expanding. What that means is that it won't take directly 127 gig from your from that volume within Windows. It'll expand it dynamically as it needs it, right? So as the blockchain grows, as Linux is installed on it, it'll automatically increase in size. It'll start at something quite small and then just grow up to a maximum of 128. So fine with me. I don't need to change that. I have enough. Next. All right, so what I'm next going to do is click on install an operating system from a bootable CD-ROM. And you can see here that it says ISO. I'm going to select that. And I believe that my ISO is in there. So I'm going to click on that. Yep, it is. So I did that quite fast, but you can see once you download this, you will get this file here, okay, .iso. Just zoom in so we can have a copy and pause on that if you need, and you can put it anywhere. It doesn't matter on the local machine, doesn't matter. So download this and you'll get that, and that's where you put it in this section. All right, let's click on next here. Okay, I'm pretty happy with all that. I'm going to click on finish here. And this is, you can see now where it's created my SFX node. It's off right now. And that is okay because I've just created it. This is for a light or a full, it doesn't matter. Settings, I'm going to go into settings. Right click and go into settings, and I'll go through this. There's not a lot of changes in here at all. I'm just going to check it. I want the CD to be at the top here because I'm going to boot off that ISO, and that's what the ISO is. It's kind of faking that it's a kind of CD disk. All the security is off. I'm fine with that. Memory is 4 gig, good. The virtual prox 4 is good as well. There's my hard disk, that is fine. There is my ISO. My network is connected. Name, I'm going to go down here and just click this guest services. I don't think that's going to work in what we want, but that's fine. Actually, I would untick that because I don't want to install anything other than Linux. So I'm gonna untick that. So don't tick that one. So we should be good with everything. Let's connect to it. And I do not need this, so I'm going to minimize this. And I am now going to start our virtual machine, our virtual machine that we have created. Okay, so it is starting up now. And what it's going to do is once it starts up, you'll see that it's now booted off that ISO, and we're gonna have to go through some steps here. So I'm just gonna try and see if I can make this a little larger, 200. Yeah, that's the maximum I think we can go. I think that looks pretty good. All right. First option here, I want to install Linux here. So click on that. Now remember some of the other videos I did where we deployed in the cloud, and it did all this for you. You know, you didn't have to do any of these manual steps, right? So that's why the cloud is for mainnet and for operation and management. It is a lot better than doing this at home. That's what I recommend and what I'll be doing. But just through testnet, this gives people another option. Maybe save some money as well. All right, so it's back. Took a couple more minutes. Yeah, so this is the wizard. I'm going to pick English here. Now, this is asking the question, hey, can I go out and get later versions of the flavor of Ubuntu that this is running now? I'm going to do that later on, so I'm going to just, for the video, I'm going to select continue without updating. I'm going to pick English for my keyboard layout. For this option, I'm going to just go for the Ubuntu server because there may be some packages that I need versus just an even smaller cut down footprint. So click done there. All right, you can see that it has gone out and it has picked up from my router. Yeah, you can see it's gone out. So it's gone through that SFX network, the external bridge that we created, to my host, my Windows 11 box, and then it's got an IP address to be able to connect out from my router. So that is all working well there, all so far. So I'm going to click on Done. Okay, so it's asking me for a proxy for the internet. I don't need that because of just what I showed you. My proxy is my router. If you're at this point and you have a proxy on your network, wherever you are, then you should know this, but I do not need one. This is just asking you where to pull down any updates or anything like that. I'm just going to go with Done. This is the storage configuration. Okay, so let's have a look at that. All right, now use entire disk. Remember I created that 127 expanding volume. So do I want to use that entire disk? Sure, yeah, why not? I don't want to partition it, cut it up at this level, in testnet. So that is fine for this. So I'm going to go Done. Yeah, let's not go through that. Let's kind of trust the file system partitions and all that it's giving us. Let's click on Done. Yeah, continue. I mean, this is asking you, do you want to format that raw volume that we created to install our Linux flavor? So I'm going to click Continue. All right, so I'm going to give it now a name, or my name. So I'm going to go with just that, and then this can be SFX node. And then this is going to be the username. So I'll just use the same thing for that. And then it's going to ask me for a password here. All right, done. Yeah, so this SSH is a protocol that allows you to connect to this console to do administration on this instance of Linux. I'm at home. I have access to this through Hyper-V, so I'm not going to do this, because if I want to do administration, I'm not going to need SSH. I'm just going to log on to it and I'm going to be right there. Now, if once we're in the cloud, this is different. You could still log onto a cloud service and administer it from that console, but for just home, like I said, I'm not going to install that. I am just going to leave everything as default here. I'm not really interested in anything other than, yeah, I mean, you could go through this and untick things that you don't want, like I can see PowerShell, but again, I'll just click on Done. All right, so I assume that this now is just going to go through and install Linux with the input that we gave it. So let me pause again here and I'll come back when it's close to the end. All right, so at the top there, we can see that it says install complete. So I'm going to go down and reboot this box. All right, it says failed on mounting the CD-ROM. That's okay. You just hit enter at that point and it's going to reboot. It's doing some post-installation setup. Okay, I'm just going to hit clear here. it's asking me for a login, so let's just log in. So the account I'm going to use is the one I gave before. I think it was just Nathan B. Yep, and then password. Okay. Okay, that looks good to me. You can see here that I have a IP address which is being given by my router. Now that all looks good. And I'm just looking. Okay, so usage of the disk, I presume, is 10% of 61 gig. That's what size it's at now. So that expanding disk, which is fine. Okay, let me go back inside. All right, now I will clear that screen so we get up to there. Okay, so you can see I'm logged on. Now, the last steps that we're going to do here are I'm going to do some updating. So I'm going to do a sudo apt update, and this will just go out and check for what possibly can be updated on this machine. It doesn't actually do any updating. Okay, so 40 packages. So the next command I'm going to do is again a sudo. This time I'm going to do an upgrade. I'm just going to add a yes to go and kind of force it to run, and this is actually going to execute the upgrade of those packages. Okay, so this indicates to me that with progress means that I can actually get out, which is a good thing, and pull down those packages. Okay, I guess we'll just wait here. It's running pretty quickly, unless it's actually going to go. This is pulling it down, and then it'll actually go through the install, which makes it may take a little while. I might pause it there, but let's see. All right, so now we come up to this screen here, and I'm just going to go down and select the default. I'm going to tab to that OK, and I'm just going to restart everything that's selected there that was updated. And down the bottom there, you can see that it's gone back to that prop for us to enter something in. So I'm just going to clear that. Okay, I'm going to use my arrow up just to run that update to see if there's anything more that needs updating. And you can see there that it says all packages in the last line are up to date. So I'm at the point now again where I've set up my Ubuntu Linux instance, and I'm ready for Prabhu to give us the next commands to install the SFX software on this for our node configuration. So that's where we're at. That's where you need to get to if you again wanted to run this from home. I'm going to quickly just show you for this the disk. So if I go back into my SFX folder and I go in there, you'll see these virtual hard disk, and you'll see that disk there, that's what this is running inside that one file. So you can see there it's extremely small. So at this point it really isn't large at all. So all right, let me just go down, and I'm gonna go back to Hyper-V because I want to show you something else. I think I don't need to shut that down. Now, the last part about this video is with VirtualBox. Okay, Oracle VirtualBox. So once you, I'm not sure if I showed you this, but I'll show it to you again. You need to go to this URL here, virtualbox.org, and this is if you're running on Mac. You can do this on Windows as well if you don't want to use Hyper-V, but you're going to need the same requirements with that hardware and that hypervisor, that piece of hardware on your home machine. Now, but here you can see that you're going to download a Mac OS for, if you're running Mac, and do all the same thing. Now, this is what it looks like. I have one here. Once you install the software, I'm not going to go through every single step on how to configure it here. If you want that, leave me a comment that you're running Mac and you'd like to see me go through and set up VirtualBox Manager for you, and I can do that and create a shorter video around that. But that is the option for Mac users or Windows users that don't want to use Hyper-V for some reason. You can use this, okay? And you can see there that I've already created a C4X Light Node VPS previously. That is it. I think that is the end of the video. In summary, remember, this is targeted towards testnet. If you want to you have a machine at home that has the hardware and the software requirements, it's an option to run it this way, instead of creating your cloud service in November. You got a couple of months of savings there. As Prabhu said, we don't need a lot of horsepower right now. So, but again, mainnet's a different story. I'm going to run it as a cloud service, and that would be my advice to everyone for many different reasons that I've gone through in previous videos. But that's it, signing off. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment, hit me up on Discord, and if you've got any questions. Until next time, see you guys.